So Jonathan Gresham, who was phenomenal, has on Rampage, not this past Friday, the Friday before, he had a nice little heel turn. He turned on Lee Moriarty in their tag match. He's aligned with Tully Blanchard. His whole thing was, I've been sitting at home since March, since I signed my contract. Tully gave me a call and was like, this is my plan for you. Come join me and Gates of Agony and Brian Cage, which is just a very interesting faction.
Yeah, Gates of Agony.
Yeah, and
well, that's fine. I mean, Brian Cage, he's back. He's doing his thing. That's fine.
And I think ROH is probably a good place for him.
Yeah, so he will be a perfect fit for the ROH side of things.
Yeah, I think so too. And then, so I guess this means they're done with the Foundation, which is interesting because that was kind of ROH's big faction for a while. And it was like, because Rhett Titus was in it, and who else? There's other people, and I just completely blanked on who else was in the Foundation. But so Jonathan Gresham is, adding him to Tully Blanchard Enterprises definitely puts them on another level. Like that's you have one of the best wrestlers in the world, with that faction. He's a champion. He brings gold. He brings instant credibility to what you're doing. Having him with somebody like Tully Blanchard is extremely smart. Like it's because, we've seen a lot of the younger wrestlers are being who's, kind of partnered with veterans. Like we see Lee Moriarty with Matt Sydal. We've seen Matt Hardy with Private Party and things like that. So Jonathan is established. Like, I mean, he's been wrestling for 17 years. If you watch Ring of Honor, you know who Jonathan Gresham is. He fought his way to be the pure champion, and then he finally declared he was going for the world title. And then that's when Ring of Honor announced that they were, going out of business as we knew it. And so literally 3 weeks after that promo went out that he was challenging for that title. And then he finally won it at Final Battle. And I was looking because I was writing about it, and he has defended the title 16 times, but only 3 times in AEW or ROH programming. The rest of it he's defended, and he's defended several times in Impact Wrestling. He's defended it in GCW. He's defended it in his own promotion, which is Terminus. He's defended it in a couple other places. So I
didn't know Terminus was his.
Yes, Terminus is him and Baron Black, who if you watch Dark, Baron Black is 0-50, which is a shame because he's very good. That. And I knew he was a solid wrestler, but then I saw him on Terminus, and I was like, why haven't we seen that Baron Black? Like, he's very good. Like,
Terminus sounds like something I'd really get into.
Yeah, Terminus is great, and they haven't. Yeah, they've had 3 shows, and that it's been a while, basically since the ROH thing came up. Like, Terminus has been kind of quiet. They've been trying to figure out what they were going to do and because he's a champion, kind of what they were going to, maybe what they were going to allow, and maybe it was contract stuff. I don't know. But Terminus is finally having a show this Thursday in Atlanta, which is where it takes place because that's where Jonathan Gresham lives. He lives in Baltimore, but I believe he's from Atlanta. It's where Baron Black is from. They've been friends since they were like 17 years old. They've talked about having a wrestling promotion for a very long time, and it finally came to fruition. And they've had some really excellent shows. And so this week, actually, let me find my handy little picture here. I can throw up this card. So this is the card for this week. And so you see the commentary team is Ian Riccaboni and Dave Prazak. Khan, who is in Gates of Agony, is having a match, an open challenge. You see Mike Bennett's there. They do have a women's match with Masha Slamovich and Queen Aminata, Queen Aminata has been on she's been on Dark and Elevation a few times, and she's very good. She has a really cool character. You see the Factory, who I was talking about a minute ago. They're going to be on there. Obviously, we've got Baron is going to be in the co-main event with Jay Lethal, and then Jonathan Gresham is wrestling Takeshita. I'm believe this is a title match. I can't see from this thing, but I believe that that's a title match. Even if it's not a title match, it's going to be a banger.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was like, it was funny because I had just been talking about Terminus like a few days before. And I was like, man, when are they coming back? And then I saw the match announcement was Gresham versus Takeshita. And I was like, not only are they coming back, they're coming back in a huge way. And Takeshita's just everywhere. And he's getting to wrestle all these people. And somebody like Jonathan Gresham is huge. And you kind of, and I think that might be a little bit of a different aspect than what we've seen from Takeshita, because Jonathan is so technical, and he is one of the best technical wrestlers there is, which is definitely, that's, you know, his argument is that, you know, he reiterated it Friday night on Rampage was, you know, he said, I'm hold one of the best wrestlers in the world, damn it. It is true. And he's like,
it is true.
And he's like, all these people get the attention. He's like, people talk, when you talk about technical wrestling, it's Bryan Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr. And, you know, and Claudio Castagnoli. And so then that led to, so he's just like, basically, who's going to come fight me? And Claudio's music hits. And I was like, oh boy. I was like, we're getting.
I was like, well, we know it's not ZSJ because he's in the G1.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe later. I'd be down to see that match. Don't get me wrong.
Maybe that's a Wrestle Kingdom level match. So hopefully we get that in the Tokyo Dome at some point. But so it was interesting because, I mean, automatically I was like, whoa, we're getting this. Also, why are we getting it so soon? Like, why is this happening so fast? So, because it definitely is, I think, a dream match, especially if you're into technical wrestling. Like, this is a really big dream match. And then, obviously, Claudio has the history with Ring of Honor. He was there for over half a decade. He's one of their very best that's come from Ring of Honor. But Excalibur quickly pointed out that Claudio has never won a world title. As great as he is, that's not something that's ever happened for him. So I don't know quite what's going to happen here. I was like, on the one hand, Claudio it's mind blowing that Claudio has never held a world title.
You told me that, I just was like, really?
Yeah, it's amazing that he's never held something like that before. Especially
heard the pop he got.
Right, exactly. Lord. And then so then you're like, well, yeah, then put him, you know, give him the Ring of Honor title. But then on the other hand, Jonathan Gresham, he's fought so hard to have that title, to make it what it is. He's defended it in other companies, and he's newly aligned with Tully Blanchard, and he's the centerpiece. And he is like, they brought him in not on the condition that he was a champion, but because he was champion. So he can't really afford to lose that title either, because then, you know, what's the point of being with Tully Blanchard if you can't keep your title? And then on the other hand, Claudio, I don't know that he can afford to lose a big match this soon. Like, he's only been in, I guess, 3 matches since he's been in AEW, maybe 4. I think it's 3. So, I mean, sure, he can technically afford to lose, but this is not only is it a big match, it's a title match. And so I don't know where they're going. I can't really tell where they're going. And then, like, Ian Riccaboni had this really cool thread where he talked about how he and Caprice used to talk about, like, what would have happened if we had Claudio and Samoa Joe, like, at the same time. So it kind of sounds like maybe that's going to happen at some point as Claudio versus. So maybe Claudio. So I was like, well, does Claudio lose this and get a shot at the TV title with Samoa Joe? If Samoa Joe retains at Death Before Dishonor, because he's wrestling Jay Lethal for that title, because Jay Lethal is the longest running RoH TV television champion. And so that's kind of been their whole thing the whole time. So I was like, so I can't really, so there's a lot of things that are in play with Ring of Honor that you just like, and even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's right. So it's nice to see like what they're doing, but then I kind of don't, which I guess is nice that it's not predictable. Where they're going.
Say, because Excalibur is so good, he may have planted that seed on purpose.
Right. And then even Ian Riccaboni,
because the good ones do that.
Right. And Ian Riccaboni in that thread was talking. So he made basically cases for both, like Claudio and Jonathan, but then he tied it up and was like, but if you're that, like, why would you put your belt on the line against Claudio? Like, why would you do something like that? So that kind of made me lean towards maybe Claudio is going to win this. But then what happens to Jonathan Gresham if he loses? Like, I don't yeah, so it's really.
But Claudio's like a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, though.
Right.
So he can kind of afford to. I mean, in a way, he can afford it. He's in the crew,
right?
The interim champ, and all,
and the RoH Pure champion,
right? And the RoH Pure champion,
right?
But also, that could make an argument for him to have an RoH title too. So